Welcome to the E-commerce Profits Podcast, where we feature top founders and experts in the e-commerce industry and take an in-depth look at the struggles and successes in growing e-commerce brands profitably.
Hey guys, Josh Chin here, and I'm the host of the E-commerce Profits Podcast, where we feature top experts in the e-com industry, and we go behind the scenes of the struggles and successes in growing a brand. Now, this episode is brought to you by chronos.agency. If you are a direct-to-consumer e-com brand that is ready for next-level growth and to unlock the optimal customer lifetime value through email marketing, Chronos is your company. We've helped hundreds of brands get over $70 million in return from email alone, and our clients get an average of 3,500% ROI from our efforts. We've worked with brands like Truly Beauty, Elias Skin, The Oodie, and many more. And for some reason, beauty brands are just attracted to us. Nothing to do with my fashion sense. I always wear plain t-shirts and jeans. But the next step is to email us at sales@chronos.agency. You can go to chronos.agency to find out more. And today's guest is someone really interesting. And we don't actually have a lot of guests that actually went through the Kickstarter route in building their brand and business, and then grew a very wildly successful Shopify brand around that product. Mark Zhang is the founder and CEO of Manta Sleep, a multi-million-dollar DTC brand in the sleep niche. They are on a mission to give light sleepers control and mastery over their sleep, which lays the groundwork that empowers and enables everything else that is good in life. Mark, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Hey man, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me, Josh.
Awesome. So to get started, tell me a little bit more about Mark. For those who don't know who you are, how do you get started in entrepreneurship and the sleep niche of all things?
How did I get started in entrepreneurship? When I was in college, so I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs. I didn't even know what the heck entrepreneurship was until I was in my early to mid 20s. But when I was in college, the plan was always to be an accountant, and I went and worked at one of the big four accounting firms for a little bit, and I thought that was going to be my path in life. But as I was working there, feeling that every day as I went to work that my soul was slowly dying, one of my close friends from elementary school unfortunately passed away from cancer. And that was one of those times where it's sort of like, in some selfish ways, it kind of kicked me into hyperdrive, where I was thinking, like, man, if I was going to have another month to live in my life, what was I going to do with the time that I had? And it was definitely not accounting. And so that sort of started the journey where I started exploring a journey of self-discovery, listening to podcasts, figuring out what it is that I wanted to do in life. And that eventually, unfortunately, led to me starting a couple of businesses over the years and kind of getting into entrepreneurship.
That's awesome. And I understand that you started your first venture online on affiliate marketing, if I'm not wrong. Was that right?
Yes, way back in college. Yes.
That's amazing. Was that the time when things were still pretty profitable on Google, where you kind of just arbitrage and?
So the entrepreneurship journey was mega success at the beginning, and then it just dropped off for like 5 years of nothing before it came back again. Back then, Google Ads was this was like in 2005 when I did the first one. Back then, Google Ads was like 2 cents a click to all the money keywords. So I did like these affiliate sites that did wholesale deals, and it was just so easy. I mean, anybody could have done it, and I was just at the right place, right time, and was able to pay off my college tuition as a result of that. But then it sort of just got more competitive and harder, and I didn't know what to do, and that fizzled out.
That's incredible. You paid off your college tuition just from that one venture.
Yes, but also it's Canadian college tuition, so not the same as US tuition.
Not exactly the same.
Not exactly the same. Yeah.
Okay.
Not as expensive.
Makes sense. And from what I've seen on your site and what the conversations that we've had prior to coming on the show, It seems like you're on a very mission-oriented journey with the company, but your beginnings in online marketing was kind of very just money focused and revenue focused. How did
It
that
was.
transition happen?
I mean, the first step was really just to figure out a way to make enough money so I don't have to work and or not to starve and have no place to live, right? So that's been
Makes sense.
after that
Yeah.
initial thing with the affiliate marketing afterwards, none of the businesses that I worked on really took off, and it wasn't even making enough money for me to feel comfortable and to be able to quit my job for some time. But the we were also fortunate in early 2014, end of 2014, early 2015, when we started an Amazon business doing a bunch of other products. And at that time, Amazon was still relatively easy to work on, and so it's really helped that business take off. But after about a year or two of that, my business partner and I woke up one morning. We just sat there and thought to ourselves, like, if we had to go onto Amazon and create another rolling pin or something like that, just for the sake of growing revenue, that we were going to just bang our head against the wall, and we just couldn't do it anymore. It was getting to a point where, I mean, it wasn't like we were making a ton of money, but we were making enough money so that it was comfortable. And then that's when we decided, okay, for the next 5-10 years of our lives, we got to do something that actually has a purpose, that actually has a meaning, that something that we can actually believe in, that's something that we're excited about. And that's how Manta Sleep kind of grew out of that.
You know what? I've actually had a very similar start. It was survival first and then mission. It's
Yes.
always survival first, figuring out, does this work? Can I actually quit my job and make this a full-time thing?
Right.
And then you find a purpose around that. And I
Right.
think that's what a lot of we're a lot of entrepreneurs, including myself, get caught up with. What's that whole purpose behind what I'm doing? And even when the business isn't necessarily mature yet, to
Right.
start thinking about things like that. But talk to me about what is next for Manta Sleep. You spoke to me about the pro nap movement. I want to talk about that.
So yeah, as our company Manta Sleep has grown over the past 5 years, it's an evolution process, right? At the beginning, it was like, hey, you know, I've been a light sleeper for most of my life. I've been using sleep masks for most of my life. I always thought we could do something better. So the first step was, why don't we just create a better sleep mask than was available? And then as the company grew, uh, the mission evolved with the company as well. So the next step for us was to, how do we go from a sleep mask company to a company that actually empowers and enables people to prioritize sleep and rest. And so in the recent years, especially going to 2021 beyond, one of the core focus we have is getting behind the pro nap movement, which is really to not only encourage and enable, but to give people almost in a way permission and to champion the cause, to say that when and if you prioritize rest by getting enough sleep and taking a nap every single day, uh, it's going to enable you as an individual to be able to achieve much more than you could thought you would have been able to achieve. And we want to do that by through example, right? To demonstrate to the world with our own sort of growth and progress in the company as a result of the team prioritizing rest. And every single day, in the afternoon when the lights are after lunch at the office, we turn off the lights. Everybody takes like a 30-minute power nap. So we really live it, and we want to show like just how we're able to succeed as a team as a result of prioritizing rest and focusing on sleep and nap, not in spite of it. And this is sort of, you and I have talked about it. This is, I think, especially important because I grew up in the West, and in Canada and the US, napping, I've worked in the corporate world before, is still very much seen as something that's lazy or frowned upon. Things are changing a little bit, but really, I don't think it's changing fast enough. And so that's something that we really want to be behind as a purpose and mission driven company.
That's incredible, and I can really relate to that. And growing up in Singapore and in an Asian culture, the idea of rest is just uh, generally not a great thing. And
Probably
I
even
mean,
worse in Asia.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit worse in Asia. I remember growing up in school, I would spend pretty much almost all my waking hours studying, doing work, um, finishing assignments and stuff like that till like 10 p.m. At night. And then I'll go to sleep and I'll wake up for school at 8 a.m. the next day. So like 80-90% of my waking lives were basically around school work and work in general.
Right.
And
And I think that there's I mean, you may have seen this little sort of Twitter back and forth between Elon Musk and some of his followers, and it's like I think a lot of times public figures like Elon Musk, who for some reason only sleeps 4 hours a night. I don't know how he does it.
exactly.
There's this whole like we're all about that anti-hustle culture. You know, like the hustle culture in the last 5 to 10 years. It's
Yep.
it's a real thing, Russell. Like young people, just
Yep.
work as hard as you can. But the more as our business and organization has grown, the more I realize, and also in my sort of journey as an entrepreneur, it's not really about working hard and going like, I'm just gonna like willpower through this and work 20 hours a day and get myself to succeed. It's really about good decision making and taking the right path. It's not the absolute amount of hours you spend on a task. And so, yeah, I just I don't agree with what Elon Musk is saying, and so that's one of the things that we're trying to be
I
public about.
agree 100%. I was in the camp of just hustling, putting in the hours and doing as much as I could. And it made sense at that point in time when I basically had no direction, when I was kind of just exploring
Right.
basically anything that worked and anything that stuck. But you're right. I mean, it boils down to really just good decision making, and it's much better to spend 1 good hour generating a ton of results than it
Exactly.
is to spend 10 hours being at
Exactly.
20% of your capacity.
Exactly. And so, look, you get some good sleep at nighttime. You wake up, you got a fresh morning, a couple of hours of high quality work, right? And then I basically double that by taking a nap. And so when I wake up after my 30 minute power nap in the afternoon, I basically get another hour or two of super high quality work done during because I'm just very fresh. And so if anything, that has made a much greater difference in the trajectory of our growth than me trying to work. You know, like by after 6 p.m., you can't be making like strategic decisions, right? You're just tired. It's just,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
You know what? This is something that's really interesting to me because I've been tracking my sleep much more consciously now that I have
Hmm.
a Whoop band that's
Oh
telling
yeah.
me
Okay.
exactly how much time I'm productively sleeping.
Right.
Um, and it's been a massive game changer. I feel much more alert. I'm much more present in meetings. I'm less moody. I'm making better decisions and all that. And it
Right.
just boils down to just sleeping 1 extra hour every night. Are there any brands that you look up to in that is aligned in what you're trying to achieve with this movement?
One of the things I noticed, there's a lot of sleep brands out there. Not so many,
Mhm.
not so many brands focused specifically on sleep mask. I feel like we're dominating the space at the moment. But if you were to look at other product categories like mattresses, there's tons. Casper, there's Purple, and I feel like I really love the branding of Purple, by the way. But across the board, I feel like um, the message that I get from the sleep brands that I come across is mostly here's how to sleep better. They use calming language. It's blue. It's got the little pillow. Look, basically what you can think of when you envision a sleep company. We took a very different approach that was a result of sort of how I felt about this. Because for me, optimizing sleep, is really about what you're able to do with the energy that you get from sleep. So if you take a look at our brand, it's counterintuitive in the sense that it's very red, it's powerful, and it's action. You see people happy and in action after they've used or is in the process of using our product. So that's what the empowerment kind of angle comes from. And so I feel like we're taking a very different approach in sort of communicating sleep compared to many of the brands that I've seen. So there are some brands that I do look up to. but they're not directly related. Like Aura Ring is something that I'm fascinated by. I'm trying to get mine. People have been telling me to get it for a while now. I'm looking forward to getting it. It seems like you can do a lot of compared to like the wrist tracker that you have, you can get a lot of actionable insight. Like it tells you when to go to bed, how, and all this kind of stuff, when to wake up. That seems to be a little bit more actionable than something like a fitness tracker or what the Apple Watch is able to do in terms of sleep tracking.
Absolutely. I think Aura Ring is built just for sleep. The Whoop band is pretty interesting. It's built for recovery, strain, which is like physical strain, and sleep.
Right.
And I think they serve they have their own space that they excel in.
Right.
And that's super interesting.
I also love purple. Their branding is amazing.
You know what? Yeah. Are they a part of the Blue Ribbon Mastermind as well?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe not.
Someone told me that.
Oh, are they? I just think their marketing is amazing, and they're quirky, and they make these funny little videos, and they're just different again from when you think of a typical sleep brand.
Yeah, and so the guys responsible for their advertising videos, one of their most popular videos, the one of the egg test.
Yes.
The video was created by Harmon Brothers.
Yes.
A video agency, and I'm actually going to be interviewing him, one of the co-founders, Daniel Harmon, in a couple of days.
That's fantastic.
That's going to be the next episode.
That's going to be fantastic. I got to share that episode with my team because we're also, because they have a couple of courses that we're trying to learn from. Yeah. They
do some amazing work. I'm a big fan, all the way back from what was that called? Aura Brush.
Yes. Those videos are amazing. My God.
Incredible. It was so simple, straightforward, but it's so funny.
And so good for DTC ads too, like on Facebook.
It works so well, yeah. Talking about DTC ads, that was something that I think stood out from your Kickstarter campaign, where, correct me if I'm wrong, but you leveraged a lot on Facebook ads.
Yes.
Or pledges. Talk me through that thought process. And well, based on my understanding, not all Kickstarter products and Kickstarter brands actually go through that paid
I think so. So I'm a little bit out of touch as well, because our Kickstarter campaign was like 3 or 4 years ago. So it's been a while. I'm not really sure what's happening, but I know because before then, I had done 2 other Kickstarter campaigns for 2 other projects. And in the earlier days of Kickstarter, I think people were really just going for the the media play, the friends and family type of situation. But when I was doing it, most of them were already leveraging agencies and doing a ton of Facebook ads. These days, I don't think you can have, like, you don't raise any amount of money without Facebook ads. Literally, like, if you don't run Facebook ads or some type of ad, you're not going to break 100K. So when I was doing it, it was already a common thing. But what we decided to do, and these agencies, I don't know if they're different now, they used to charge, there's some big ones, they charge a lot of money. They charge, I don't remember, but it was a ton of money. And I think we did some estimation, and I thought, like, depending on the size of the campaign, it was going to work out to be like 40 or 50 grand in the US if we were to work for an agency. So what we did was we decided not to use an agency and just take that money and invest it internally on the team. So we basically just spent all that money ourselves on Facebook as a learning process.
That's incredible.
Yeah, but I don't think the campaign would have been nearly as big without, because like 50% of it came from Facebook ads.
That makes sense. And what about the transition from, a successful Kickstarter product to now a full-fledged Shopify built brand that is wildly successful? And we talked about this year. You closed last year at north of basically high 7 figures. What was that process like, and that transition from Kickstarter to Shopify?
Well, the first thing is to make sure you deliver what you said you're going to deliver. That's a big thing. And after that, it's smooth sailing. No, but it's I think it's really been an organic growth process, right? Like when we launched this product, like it was this brand was born as a result of a single product. I did not have any sort of long-term vision where I said, okay, this is going to be a so-and-so an 8-figure company in a certain amount of time. In my mind, it was just, we have a good product. Let's try to get this brand up to a certain point where we can get as many people using this product as possible. And then it was the natural evolution from that stage to now sort of like having a proper business, if you will, is really organic. It's just like step by step. And what I'll say is the lessons that we learned from running Facebook ads for Kickstarter uh, has really paid off uh, in the years following. Because right afterwards, for us to maintain growth trajectory the year after, we invested a ton of money into Facebook ads and got some really great ROI. And then afterwards, it's just the typical process of building a business. You get guys email marketing, which you guys are doing an amazing job at. We're doing YouTube ads, Google ads, all over the place. SEO, we're doing sponsorships. So it's a natural growth process.
Has there been major struggles that you faced in the past 3 years in building the brand outside of Kickstarter?
I think it mostly comes down to scaling. Right now we have about 18 people on the team. When we started Manta Sleep, we had 3 people on the team. So each stage as the company grew, we basically had to reconfigure the system to make it work. So if anything, throughout this entire process, probably the most challenging thing is to discover the right people and to put them in the right role. Because if you're able to do that and you have a clear vision of what needs to be achieved, people will just step up and make it happen. So of course, there are other challenges throughout the way. Sometimes Facebook ads don't work, it's too expensive, and COVID and all that. But in general, I think the greatest challenge and reward throughout this journey is leadership and team building, because that basically solves all the problems when you have the right people.
That's really, really crucial. And I think lots of brands, and I think we're also guilty of this. We tend to kind of just go straight into, all right, I have something to be done, a task to be done. Let me find someone to hire. I'm going to hire someone to get it done. And I think that often leads to a lot of trouble, because then you're just literally throwing bodies at problems. Right. And eventually the organization gets so bloated and very slow moving. How do you think about the process of hiring for a role and versus filling a gap for a problem?
Right. So I don't have this all figured out. We're also in the process of discovery, but one of the things that like our hiring process is quite rigorous, and I believe that skills can be learned, right? But characteristics do not change. Like I've never seen somebody, like if somebody is detail oriented or not detail oriented, I've never seen it go the other way around. So during our hiring process, we really focus on making sure that culturally as well as soft skills, it's a match. Because if somebody is capable and willing to learn, they can basically learn anything, whether it's Facebook ads or SEO or whatever the case might be. In the earlier stages of the growth, and we're not that big, right? This is like 18 people, but like when we're like going from like 3 to 5 and 6, 8, it's the same process as what you described. We have a problem. We're like, oh my God, this is about to break unless we get somebody in here to take on this role. But now, as we're getting a little bit bigger, my business partner and I have been spending a lot more time considering how to position ourselves to attract the right people and also simultaneously repel those who don't fit in with what we believe in. So one of the things that we have been clarifying in the last year or so is our mission, our values. So we have, like, whenever somebody applies to a job, we got a hiring video, and then we list out the values, we list out the beliefs. And these things are written in a way where somebody reads it and they're either very excited about it, or I hope they would think we're crazy, in which case they would just not apply for the job. For example, one of the first things we write in our job posting is we say, do you believe that an afternoon nap is better than coffee? So if you're a coffee lover and you think taking naps is dumb as hell, and you read that, you're like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, so the idea is really to try to attract people who believe in the same things as we believe in, and then get rid of everybody else.
I love that. That's beautiful. And the fact that you have it written down explicitly makes it all so much powerful, so much more powerful. I love the idea of repelling people who just don't fit early on in the hiring process.
Absolutely.
What are some of the biggest mistakes that you have made, or failures, that whatever failures that you might consider to be significant over the past 3 years?
Past 3 years, probably not getting myself out of the way fast enough. As in, like, I know there are things that need to be delegated, and I know there are things that other people can come in and do better than I can. But just not having the confidence, I think, because it's also a learning and growth process for me. If I could do this all over again, I would have tried to scale and grow much more aggressively than we have in the last couple of years. I suppose that's also part of the learning process, but I think I was a bottleneck in the business quite a bit more than I probably should have been. If you go back maybe a few more years, like I think at the beginning of the entrepreneur journey, the biggest mistake was being a keyboard warrior for too many years, rather than going to conferences and meeting people and talking to people. And you're doing a fantastic job of this. I know you're networking, and we've talked about this, but I thought my entrepreneur journey could have been accelerated a lot if I had just gone out of the house, went to conferences, networked, talked to people, absorbed their spirit and energy. Because when I started doing that, the business took off. But when I was banging away on my keyboard, just reading blog posts and articles and stuff like that, there's some like I think like the skills are easy to learn, but the mindset takes a lot of time and repeated exposure, if you will, to change. And so that was a big thing that I definitely would be doing differently if I could do it all over again.
That's incredible. Do you think that is a result of who you are, as your characteristics or your tendencies to learn better when you experience them, like through another person? Or is it just in general, it's just generally a better idea?
I think it's in general. I think I was just being a nerd and staying at home and maybe not pushing myself out of my comfort zone enough, honestly. I don't think it's anything particular about the way that I learn or absorb. I just think it's easy to learn skills. You could just go download a course and you go through the course and you've learned the skills. But having the skills does not necessarily mean you're able to apply it in a way that moves the organization forward. People always say think bigger, right? For me, just hearing that over and over again doesn't change anything. But when I go to a conference and I meet like 5 different people and they're all going through the same struggle and their business at various stages ahead or behind, that kind of over time expands what I think is possible in my mind. And then you take those skills that you learn by being a keyboard warrior at home by yourself, then the two matches, then you get explosive results and growth.
Sometimes all it takes is just seeing it working in some other businesses, and you believe that it works.
And you believe it, right?
Yeah,
right.
Then you believe it.
I used to listen to this stuff, and I gotta be honest with you, I always thought it was kind of woo-woo. I'm like, what are you talking about? You go to a conference and you see somebody and you see one thing and you believe it, and now all of a sudden your business triples in size. But having gone through the process, I can say with confidence that that's exactly how it works. It's not banging away at your keyboard and trying to take another course. It doesn't, you don't get that transformational kind of change.
Exactly. And you know what? I'm all for woo-woo stuff, right? But the thing is, the risk in these ideas is that it's just so difficult to attribute that success or that outcome to any single one thing, because it's so qualitative and experiential.
Right.
But on the flip side, if you don't do that, you know that you're missing out on that outcome. So you do it anyways. So my philosophy in that is, if it's enjoyable and it leads to a better outcome than it otherwise would, just do it. That's how I kind of think of that.
Like, that's one of the things, if you're talking about like ROI, right? Somebody, because we participate in various masterminds, and some of them can cost quite a bit of money. And somebody asked me recently, like, you think you get your money's worth? It doesn't really work that way, because I realized that because at the beginning I was very cheap. I was like, I don't want to spend $500 to fly somewhere to go attend a conference. But it's not like maybe you go to that one conference and nothing happens, but you'll go to a few, and like you said, one idea, one thing that just clicks, and it makes a huge difference. And if you were to measure the ROI in a longer time period of 5 years, 10 years, these investment in yourself and learning and connecting makes a huge difference. But if you just look at it at a very short term kind of time frame, if I spend $500 on a conference or whatever on a mastermind, can I get my ROI within 3 months? Usually doesn't work that way. But it's still, I think the right approach would be to actually make this investment and get yourself out there.
I love that. Long-term ROI on the idea of conferences and networking, that's way more significant than just a short-term gain and kind of a return on money in maybe like a month.
And maybe just one more thing. I don't want to go talk too much into this, but like one of the things I was also very I was kind of insecure as well going to these places. Like everybody seemed like a baller, and I was like, I don't know, like should I be making friends with them, or like what's going on? And it's not really about that. Like I don't know, for somebody who's maybe listening to this and maybe networking seems like, oh, you gotta go network and schmooze. It's really about just going there. I feel like a much less pressure way that has helped me not only create better and more genuine connections over the past couple of years, 5 years, but also just have learned a lot. It's just to go with a mindset of absorbing people's spirit. Like that's what I try to think of when I talk to people, like just to understand where they're coming from, listen to their stories. Maybe not even talking to me, maybe they're chatting between themselves, and I just, not in a weird way, obviously, but to listen to their stories and absorb their spirit. And I think this sounds like super woo-woo, but that has really helped in terms of changing and leveling up my mindset.
I love that. And Mark, what is your superpower?
My superpower is getting stuff done. If you had asked me this question maybe a year or two ago, I wouldn't have known, but I've been gathering some feedback recently. And the most common thing that I hear is I'm very action oriented. Like if we decide on a goal, I just, break it up and move towards that goal. So just getting shit done, basically.
That's a really interesting skill set. Now, most people would imagine CEOs to be like of a certain kind, like just visionaries who think about big ideas and super unorganized and creative. But how would you describe yourself as a CEO of the company?
I'm definitely more of what is the flip side of a visionary? Like a execution person, or what is it called?
I guess
well, there's a word for it. I can't remember.
Operator.
Operator, yeah, or a facility. Yeah, operator. I think I definitely started off in the operator role. I'm good at operating, right? Like getting stuff done is basically operations, but not so strong from a vision perspective. And there's nobody else in the company. My business partner, he is a designer, so he's also not a visionary. So that is definitely something that is a weakness. But the way that I try to offset that a little bit is exactly, again, by going to different places, meeting people, attending conferences, and absorbing that energy, and then taking that vision back into the business, and then try to combine sort of the new vision with my ability to execute and operate.
That's super powerful. I think that's super unique, because I think where I fail personally is where you succeed and getting stuff done. I'm horrible at following through on ideas and seeing things through, because I get bored so easily. I just want to move on to the next idea.
I don't know how to do it coming from that, but I think if you have a business partner who's an operator, then there you go.
Exactly. Yeah.
He'll make sure to kick your ass, or he or she will make sure to kick your ass.
I get my ass kicked all day by my team as well. So that's great.
That sounds like a good combo. Sounds like a good combo.
It is, and I think it's so crucial to find that to understand that gap, know where your superpower is, and understand where your gaps are, and find people to fill in those gaps for you. So here's an interesting question for you. What do you want the title of your biography to be when you are 70 years old and retired?
I would say enjoy the moment, if that's the title. I think, do you know the DISC system for evaluating people, like DISC?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of entrepreneurs tend to be a high D. So we're always thinking, oh, got to achieve this goal and do this, and here's the next step, and grow here and grow some more and keep growing and next level. It's really hard to, I mean, that mindset is exactly what gets us to succeed and to move forward, but that does not necessarily bring happiness, right? Happiness comes from living in the moment. I tend to read Stoicism, Buddhism, stuff like that. And I think the way that I see it, regardless of what happens in business, where we've gotten, even if you just work like an average job in any country or any role, as long as you can feed the family, buy a couple of nice things for yourself, we're living lives better than kings used to live 300 years ago, even less than 200 years ago, right? So like we're in the modern world, we're incredibly fortunate, incredibly lucky to have the modern conveniences, medication, COVID vaccine that's made within a year. I mean, that's crazy. That's unthinkable 50 years ago, unthinkable 20 years ago. So it's just an incredible time that we live in, and life is so comfortable and so good that we just, especially for high D types, we just got to stop and just kind of look back at what we have accomplished, and also live in the moment to be able to actually enjoy it.
And yeah, that's definitely a good reminder for me as well, and for many of us listening, I think. What is next for Manta Sleep?
Growth, but growth with purpose and vision, and which is like what I mentioned earlier with the pro-nap movement, and where we want to go to be able to empower, champion, and demonstrate to the world that we're successful as a result of prioritizing rest and nap. In terms of revenue growth, I mean, we've been setting revenue growth targets for the past 3 to 4 years and consistently has been growing. But I feel like now revenue is really sort of just a measurement of how well we are playing the game and how well it is helping us to achieve the greater vision of empowering people. Because it sort of gets meaningless from a financial perspective after a while. There's nothing super exciting. Like my life is not going to change, significantly. I don't spend a lot of money, so it's not going to change significantly regardless of where the revenue level is going to be.
Gotcha. Perfect. And last final question. What are some of your favorite books? You mentioned Stoicism and Buddhism, but do you read a lot, or do you prefer podcasts?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. There's so many books. Oh, dude. So for Stoicism, I like a book called How to Live the Good Life, I think it's called. And then I've been reading a whole bunch of books recently. If you're talking about, a recent one, A Promised Land by Barack Obama. That was really nice. Just it's his latest book, biography. Kind of listening to the problems a president has to deal with. It kind of puts things into context. Nothing seems that bad when you realize the shit that the Obama has to deal with. I like a great book on negotiation, Never Split the Difference. Best book I've ever read on negotiation. I got a ton of more of these. I don't know.
Those are really good suggestions. How to Live the Good Life, A Promised Land, and Never Split the Difference.
Never Split the Difference. Sorry, no, it's called A Guide to the Good Life by William B. Irvine.
William B. Irvine. Okay. A Guide to Live the Good Life.
Yeah.
A Guide to Live the Good Life, A Promised Land, and Never Split the Difference. That's a good collection. It's going to be on my reading list. What's your, you know what? I did say that was the last question, but I promise this is a final one.
Let's do it.
What's your ritual or habit around reading? Do you have like a set time that you read every single day, or is it kind of like a default go-to thing when you're on your phone?
I do two things. The default reading for me is Audible. So when I'm taking a shower, walking the dog, or going to the office, I'm just listening to Audible. But the problem with Audible is audiobooks in general is retention tends to be poor. So I'll usually play it a few times, and then when I'm reading content on like on my laptop or iPad, what I'll do is I'll get it to read. You know how there's these plugins that you can get it to read the page out loud at like 2x speed. So I'll do that and read at the same time. So that way I can read a lot faster, and the retention is also a lot higher. I know some people have like speed reading abilities. I've tried practicing that a little bit, didn't really work out. But the hack or the cheat code that I found to sort of get my reading speed up and still maintain retention is by doing get it to read the page out loud, and then you see it highlighted and the text is going across, and you're also reading at the same time. So read super fast, and retention is high. And I just do that like once a week.
That's amazing. That's the first time I'm hearing that. So I'm definitely.
You never heard that before? Oh, buddy, you gotta. How do you read? You
just a Kindle.
Okay.
And yeah, I'll just when I read, I just don't stop, and I just that's the reason why it's very difficult for me to get into the mode of reading.
Okay, but once you get into it,
then I won't stop. But
do you speed read, or how do you do it?
I know, just I do not speed read. I've tried that out, but it just did not work for me.
Yeah, I tried it too, but I think you got to practice in a way, because retention becomes a real problem. It's very low.
Yeah,
but what you could do
difficult.
if you have an iPad, right? Like just load up the Kindle app, and then there's a spoken content function on the iPad or your iPhone, and then if you just make it speak, you can, because if you're not speed reading, then when you're reading, you're probably reading out loud the word, as in
exactly.
Right? So that's quite slow. But if you 2x 2.5x the speed, it's reading for you, and you're just following the text, you can read substantially faster, and the retention is not an issue, because you're always like listening to an audiobook just really fast, and you still get that additional reinforcement of the text. It's pretty good.
That's a really good tip. That's just a really good tip.
Got to put this tip at the beginning of the podcast. This is the golden nugget of the
the golden nugget of the session.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so good. Mark, thank you so much for being on the show. That's our time. And,
thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for listening to the E-commerce Profits Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get notified of future episodes.